Hello everyone. Today we are going to do the development of tongue. So the tongue develops from the pharyngeal arches. First pharyngeal arch, second pharyngeal arch, third pharyngeal arch, and fourth pharyngeal arch. Now the tongue has three main parts. One is the mucous membrane that develops from the arches, the muscles that develop from the occipital somoid, and the fibrous stroma that is developed by the locus mesenchyme. This is the overview of the pharyngeal arches. First to sixth arch, how there are three swellings at the first arch, foramen cecum, hypobranchial eminence from the third and the fourth arch, and trachiobrachial group from the sixth arch. Now, this hypobranchial eminence has two parts, cranial and caudal. Now, let us look in detail. Okay, so this is your first arch, second arch, third arch, fourth arch, and sixth arch. Now, this first arch will give us three swellings. Okay, so what are the three swellings? Two lingual swellings, and one is the tuberculum infra, right? Then this is the hypobranchial eminence. It has two parts. One is cranial part and one is caudal part. Now all of them fuse together. So this is the lingual swelling of one side, lingual swelling of the other side. This is the tuberculum impar. This is the cranial part of hypobranchial eminence, and this is the caudal part. And this is the foramen cecum, that is the remnant of thyroglossal duct. Now, as you can see here, now this has taken the shape of the tongue. So, as we see, this is the anterior two-third of the tongue. That is formed by what? In pink are the lingual swellings on both the sides and tuberculum impar, and we have the cranial part that is forming the posterior one-third of the tongue, whereas the caudal part of the hypobranchial eminence forms the posterior most part of the tongue. Right? So that's how the tongue develops. Now there's another structure that is here, is the cupula. Although this doesn't take part in the formation or the development of tongue, but this is present there. So where does it go? Actually, your third pharyngeal arch is forming what? The posterior one-third of the tongue. This grows over this cupula part, and what does it do? It joins your anterior two-third. So as we see here in this figure, or in this drawing that I've done, here this is the posterior one-third of the tongue. This one is the in front is the anterior two-third, and this is the part where it is overlapping and joining the anterior two-third of the tongue. And this part is called as what? Sulcus terminalis. So, conclusively, anterior two-third is formed from the first arch, posterior one-third is formed from the third arch, and posterior most from the fourth arch. As we see here above, this is the posterior most, this is the posterior one-third, this is tuberculum impar, and this is what? Lingual swelling. So this one is the anterior two-thirds, this is the posterior one-third. Next, the tongue is supplied by sensory nerves. Okay, so the sensory nerves has they have both the general sensation and the special sensations. Now we all know it is formed by what? By the first arch, third arch, fourth arch. So first arch has a dual supply, that is pre-traumatic and post-traumatic. What is pre-traumatic? Pre-traumatic nerve is a nerve that runs along the caudal border of pharyngeal arch, whereas post-traumatic is the one that runs along the cranial border of the pharyngeal arch. So pre-traumatic nerve of the first arch is cauda tympani, and post-traumatic nerve is the lingual nerve, that is the branch of mandibular nerve. Therefore, the first arch or the anterior two-third of the tongue is supplied by two branches or two nerves. That is, one is cauda tympani, that is giving the special sensation, that is what? Taste. And the lingual nerve, that is a branch of mandibular nerve, is supplying the general sensations of the tongue. Next comes the third arch. So, which nerve is present in the third arch? The glossopharyngeal nerve. It is supplying or giving both the general and the sensory and the special sensory supply, whereas the fourth arch, that or the posterior most part of the tongue, is supplied by the vagus, and nerve of the vagus, superior laryngeal nerve, both the general and the special sensation. So this we have to remember, mainly the first arch, because the special senses and the general sensations both are different and supplied by the different nerves. Whereas for the posterior one third of the tongue and the posterior most part of the tongue, both the general and special senses or sensations are supplied by one nerve only. Next, we have the muscles of the tongue. So muscles of the tongue are developed by the occipital myotome. By the occipital myotome. So they are present posteriorly in the developing embryo, and with the development they come right in front and become the musculature of tongue. So occipital somites have myoblasts. These myoblasts will form the tongue skeletal muscles, and they're supplied by what? Hypoglossal nerve, except one muscle, that is the palatoglossus. So this is the tongue musculature. We see hyoglossus, cyoglossus, and genioglossus, and we have palatoglossus. We can see here in this diagram also. This is the mucosa of the tongue. We have discussed the special and the general sensations of the tongue. These are the superior longitudinal muscles of the tongue, the transverse muscle of the tongue, inferior longitudinal muscle of tongue, styloglossus muscle, vertical muscle of tongue, and uh, all of them are supplied by what? Hypoglossal. Whereas only one muscle that is there, only one muscle that is what? Palatoglossus is supplied by what? Vagus. Yes, all other muscles of the tongue are supplied by 12th nerve. So I've discussed the development of tongue in detail with the muscles, the general sensations, the special sensations, how the arches play a major role in the development of tongue. I hope it has helped you. And if there are any queries, you can tell me in the comment section, and I'll be very happy to discuss more about it.